Hello, you spicy bean. If you're new, welcome in. I'm Harriet, and I do in fact have a problem, which is that I am buying too many books. I am buying too many books. It's something I'm thinking about. Is it something I'm gonna stop? Probably not. I'm gonna be honest, probably not, because I think there are so many worse things I could be buying. Drugs, plastic straws, plastic bags. Why are those the only 3 bad things I can think of? Anyway, I do have a lot of books to show you. It's well over 20, maybe even closer to 30. So let's just jump straight in. I'm gonna do it by genre. We'll start with romance because I think I have the most romance. Romance or fantasy. Those are apparently the 2 genres that I read the most of. So the first book that I bought is called The Right Place by Sophia Money Coates. I actually have no idea how I heard about this. It's safe to say most of these books I would have either seen like a fellow creator review on Goodreads, I would have gotten a recommendation through a friend, or I would have just seen it on BookTube floating around. So our protagonist, Maggie, goes to the south of France. She just inherited a chateau, which is just iconic because I was in the south of France in June. I was in Provence, and it's just like the best setting, and I think since I've been there, I'll be able to really appreciate the things that I'm guessing they're going to talk about, like the lavender fields, the smells, the plants. So I'm really excited for that. And it looks like a Hollywood star, Gray Hudson, is hiding out in the south of France, and I believe they obviously meet each other. She's trying to fix up the chateau, so I'm wondering if they're gonna do it together. Who knows? Honestly, doesn't really sound like my kind of book, but I think I bought this because I just love the setting. I like any book that's set in the south of France, I will read because it's one of my favorite places on planet Earth. So I'm excited to read this. The next book is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I have genuinely had so many of you message me and say that I absolutely have to buy this. I need to read it. I've heard so much about it. If you guys don't know what this is about, it's a graphic novel, which is not something I've read since I was way younger. It is YA. I believe it's set in high school. The back says, boy meets boy, boys become friends, boys fall in love. I think it's gonna be so good. This is also a Netflix show now, so I feel like I need to just read this, understand the hype. Hopefully I'll love it. It sounds like it's gonna be cozy and like easy to read. The next book is Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. I actually found this at this local bookstore in Melbourne called The Book Grocer, where they sell really heavily discounted books. So if you guys are in the area and are looking to purchase some books, but you want to like spend, I don't know, $6 to $10 on a book, that's where I got this from. But they have a lot of like titles that I haven't really heard of, which is something I'm looking to read more of because I do feel like I have been following the hype train, which I'm just a girl. I'm gonna read something that I hear about a lot, but also I want to keep reading from new authors that I haven't heard of, read books that I haven't heard many people talk about. So this, I believe, sounds very similar to that Taylor Jenkins Reid book, which I can't remember the name of right now. Daisy Jones and the Six. That is what I mean, honestly, even the font looks the same, but the back says, it's the summer of '69. From the moment Jane Quinn steps barefoot onto the main stage at Island Folk Festival, a star is born, and so is a passionate love story. They are a band, they hit the road, and I believe it's a romance like between 2 of the band members. So this just honestly sounded fun and I wanted to pick it up. I don't know, I don't have too much to say about it, but I'm excited to read this, and if you've read it, let me know your thoughts. Then I picked up 2 Vari McFarlane books. If you guys are confused about her name, it literally is so funny. It says it in her bio at the start of each of her books. Vari McFarlane was born in Scotland in 1976, and her unnecessarily confusing name is pronounced Vari. I'm guessing if you guys are on BookTube, you probably will have seen Hayley Pham's videos, but she's recently become obsessed with Vari McFarlane, and Emily Henry has written reviews on the back of both of these books, and I will literally do whatever it takes to feel the way that I feel when I'm in an Emily Henry book. So if these are anything similar or even just can make me feel the same things, I will be so grateful. So the first one I picked up is called Between Us. This one is about Joe and Rasheen. Joe is a TV producer, I think, and he's just launched a new TV crime drama, and they watch it on a weekend away, and Rasheen is like, bestie, that show has secrets that I've told you. So I think the show is like loosely based on her. It doesn't give away much on the back of this book, but I'm excited. I like that concept, and I feel like it's going to be very much like people-centric in the same way that Emily Henry's books are. I feel like a lot of them aren't super plot-driven. They're much more just like relationship-based, people-based, and I feel like I'm growing to love that a lot more. I didn't used to like that, but I'm really excited to read this book. And then I got You Belong With Me, and it says on the front, Edie's found the one, but when everyone wants him, can she keep him? I won't read the whole of the back, but it says, are she and Elliot a fairy tale come true or a cautionary fable about getting what you wish for? Finally, for romance, this is like not really romance. I mean, it kind of, yeah, I guess it is romance. It's hard to categorize these books, but anyway, I am finishing off the Magnolia Park series. I'm so excited because I loved the first two so much more than I thought that I would. The third book, which is The Long Way Home, is on my TBR for September, and I have started it. I am not far through at all, but I'm so excited to read this. And then the next one is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, and then Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. This is an absolute chunker. Like, are you kidding? It's over 600 pages, which is insane, but truly once you get into this world, the pages just fly by. If you guys have never heard of the Magnolia Park series, I'll keep it brief, but basically the first book is told from Magnolia and BJ's perspective. They have an kind of on and off again, pretty toxic relationship, and then the second book is told from Daisy, Christian, and Daisy's brother Julian's perspective. All of the books focus on this group of people who are like the London elite, London socialite. You could think of Magnolia Parks as like a Blair Waldorf in the UK. And then the other story, which is Daisy's story, that they are kind of in that same London elite, but they're also part of this like crime syndicate. So really interesting to get both perspectives. I have loved the series so far, and I'm really, really excited to continue because I think the emotional depth in these three books is gonna be insane, and I'm just excited to read it for the first time because I know so many people would like chop off an arm to read these again for the first time. So I'm excited. Next, we're gonna move on to fantasy, which I have a pretty decent stack as well. I have been absolutely loving fantasy lately. Like, I just need to escape. Not that anything bad's happening in my life, but it's just such a beautiful escape to like go into a totally different world with different rules and different creatures. Like, it's just so fun. If you're not a fantasy reader, please just give it another go because it really, I think it's my favorite genre. Anyways, I'm yapping. The first book is from the Book Grocer again, so I got this for, I think it was like $5. It's called Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuznia. I basically picked this solely off the cover, but also because on the back it seems like it's a Christmas novel, and I tried to read like Christmas romances last year and absolutely just hated them. Like, I wanted to bash my head into a wall, so I thought maybe a wintry Christmassy fantasy might be kind of fun to get me in the mood for Christmas. So that being said, if you guys have any good like Christmas book recommendations, let me know because it is coming up, which is terrifying. This is set in Nottingham in 1906, and it says Marietta Steele longs to be a ballerina, but as Christmas draws nearer, her dancing days are numbered. She must marry and take up her place in society in the new year. But when a mysterious toy maker, Dr. Drosselmeyer, purchases a neighboring townhouse, it heralds the arrival of magic and wonder in Marietta's life. This sounds fun. I don't think this has the best reviews on Goodreads, but it's like less than 300 pages, I think, so I'm excited to bash this out closer to Christmas. You're gonna get whiplash, but then I bought The Hobbit. I got this from a secondhand bookstore here in Melbourne, and I don't know, I just kind of want to give like fantasy a go because I do just accidentally, I guess, kind of lean towards romantasy because those are the ones that are typically, I'm talking so fast, those are the ones that are typically recommended on BookTube and stuff, but I have a feeling that I really will love a bit more like high fantasy because actually when I'm reading a lot of the romantasy books that I read, I love the fantasy and hate the romance. So I'm gonna give some, I guess, would this be considered high fantasy? I feel like it would. I'm gonna give some high fantasy books a chance. So again, if you guys have any recommendations, please let me know because I love like the, I don't know, the ACOTAR like world, for example, but some of the romance is like not for me, so take that as you will and give me any recs that you have. But anyway, I bought The Hobbit. This is the prequel to the Lord of the Rings series, and I asked the girl in the bookstore if you read this one first, and she said you absolutely do. She also said that this one was written a lot more like a YA, and then as you get into the series it becomes more complex, and I feel like that's a good thing because I'll be able to ease my way in. I'm excited. I did have to get the movie cover, which is kind of fugly, but what are you gonna do? It was like $4, I'm pretty sure. This book I literally bought yesterday. So this is called The Stranger Times by C.K. McDonnell. This concept sounds so cool. Dedicated to reporting the weird and the wonderful, but mostly the weird, The Stranger Times is Manchester's go-to newspaper for the unexplained and inexplicable. It talks about this girl Hannah who gets a job at the Stranger Times. Tragedy strikes in her first week of the job, and the Stranger Times team are forced to do some serious investigating. What they discover leads to a shocking realization. Some of the stories they'd previously dismissed as nonsense are in fact terrifyingly real. This had one of those cards in the bookstore where the staff, like the people who run the bookstore, write their little notes, and they said that this was so funny. And if there's one thing about me, it's that I love to giggle during a book. Like, I read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy recently, kind of like 2-3 months ago, and that is like the funniest book I've ever read. I was actually cackling the whole time, and something about this made me feel like it was going to be similar, not in the concept but just in the writing. So I'm very excited to read this. I'll let you guys know how I like it. I feel like some of you are going to be excited about the next one because I bought Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I'm really wanting to start reading books that like TV shows are based on and then watch the shows, because I used to do that all the time and now I've just stopped. But I'm actually very excited for this. I've heard amazing things about this series. I think it's just a duology, which I love because I talk about this all the time, but I want to read fantasy, but I don't want to be in the middle of like 8,000 series. So duologies are great. I actually have no idea what this is about. I'm just gonna read this one line. It says, 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Together they might just be unstoppable if they don't kill each other first. I'm sad. I am sad. I'm so excited to read this. This is another book from The Book Grocer. This is Song of Silver Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao. I hope I pronounced that right, but this firstly has the most beautiful cover I possibly have ever seen. Like, that is so stunning. And secondly, I believe this is based on Chinese mythology, which I just really wanted to pick up because I feel like a lot of fantasy is based on like Greek or Roman mythology where there's like gods. Like, I don't know, a lot of it is quite similar, and this sounds very different, and I really want to read this because it just sounds really cool. So it says, in a fallen kingdom, one girl carries the key to discovering the secrets of her nation's past and unleashing the demons that sleep at its heart. Once Lan had a different name. She spends her days scavenging for remnants of the past, for anything that might help her understand the strange mark burned into her arm by her mother. No one can see the mysterious mark until the night Zen appears at the tea house and saves her life. In this world, magic is believed to be long lost, but Zen, this person that she meets, can practice magic, and so they go on this journey to find out the secrets. I'm guessing they'll figure out what her mark is, and it says both hold the power to liberate their land and both hold the power to destroy the world. You can't tell me that doesn't sound amazing. I really hope that the book matches how stunning this cover is because it's looking good. The next book is A Fate Inked in Blood, Saga of the Unfated, Book 1. Am I about to start a huge fantasy series? Oh, I've heard a lot of people talk about this book. I've actually heard really, really good things about this book. I think this is based on Norse mythology. Yeah, it is. It's a Norse-inspired fantasy romance. I don't think I've read any Norse mythology either. Look at me expanding my palette. I have no idea what this is about, and quite honestly, the back is just like too long for me to read, but I'm excited to read this. I'm sorry that I can't be bothered to tell you what this is about, but it sounds cool. It's like she has to find her own destiny, blah, blah, blah. I'm guessing she's gonna be a badass that saves the world. So, sign me up. Finally, I bought The Throne of the Fallen by Kerry Maniscalco. I again found this in The Book Grocer. I hadn't heard anyone talk about it, but then I think I've seen book videos on this now because I bought this about a month or so ago. It says, a wicked prince, a fallen painter, let the games begin. This book seems to have a competition, and we know how I feel when there's trials in a fantasy book. I'm literally so sad anytime people have to like fight each other. I'm gonna assume this is a romance, enemies to lovers vibes. I feel like they all are, but sign me up. Like, I don't know, I am who I am. Finally, we have this stack, which is kind of like literary fiction, and I think there's a few crime thrillers in here as well. It's a mishmash, but this is Very, Very Lucky by Amanda Prowse. Our main character is called Emma. Her life is chaos. She has kids, a sick mom, and is neglecting her husband. And the only thing that's keeping her sane is her best friend, Roz. But one day, Roz jumps in through her bathroom window, I think, and delivers her terrible news. Then we have Thurston, who is... I just can't, I can't handle books like this. He seems to be older. His wife of 62 years has died, and he's lost all of his sense of purpose, all of his joy. Why do I literally have goosebumps? Something about old men in books. I can't. Okay, I actually can't. Anyway, he runs into Emma, and I believe they form an unlikely friendship. And this is just reminding me already of A Man Called Over, and I can't. So I'm really excited to read this. The next two books were sent to me by the authors. I'm so grateful. If you're watching this, I love you. Thank you so much. I haven't gotten around to reading either of these books yet, but I'm really excited to talk about them. So the first book is by Lana Grace Reaver, and it's called The Existence of Amy. This book explores the reality of living with OCD, anxiety, and depression. And the little tagline says, what is it really like to live with mental illness? I'm really excited to read this. I think it's nice and short as well. Under 300 pages. So I'll definitely tick this off sometime soon, and thank you so much, Lana. The next book is Running Out of Air by Lily Sutton. This comes out on November 19th. So I might read this next month, but this is about two sisters, Evelyn and Sophie. They're both mountaineers. And in this book, it seems like their goal is to scale a Himalayan mountain. Both sisters have their own personal stuff going on. It says that they lost their trust in each other years ago, but they get stranded on the top of a mountain, my worst fucking nightmare, and they are forced to lean on each other, trust one another, and climb the mountain together. So I'm excited to read this. Then I got Leanne Moriarty's new book. This one is called Here One Moment. If you guys don't know much about Leanne Moriarty, she was the author behind Big Little Lies, which turned into a really successful TV show. She's actually had a bunch of her books be turned into TV shows, but she's actually Australian, and we love her over here. We really do. She's kind of like a literary fiction crime girly. I feel like her books are always very suspenseful, and I've actually enjoyed most of them. So I'm excited to read this. It all begins on a flight from Hobart to Sydney. The flight will be smooth. It will land safely. Everyone who gets on the plane will get off the plane, but almost all of them will be changed forever, because on this ordinary flight, something extraordinary happens. A lady, unremarkable until she isn't, predicts how and when many of the passengers are going to die. For some, death is far in the future. For others, it is very close. It says this book explores free will, destiny, grief, love, and the endless struggle to maintain certainty and control in an uncertain world. This sounds so good. I really do eat up Leanne Moriarty's books. I think she knows how to tell a story, hence why she's a bestseller. Then I got The Women by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna, as we know, she's popping off right now. She writes literary fiction books, I believe, focused on women. And this one, I believe, is focused on the Vietnam War, but the women's experience. So I'm excited. I just have heard that her books will break you. And I don't really want to be broken right now. So honestly, I don't know when I'm going to read. I have this and The Nightingale. I think I'm just waiting to read them when I can emotionally handle them. Then I bought The Whispering Dark. Again, this was from the Book Grocer. I've never heard about this book. I actually don't even know what genre this is. Oh, it says in the back, a paranormal thriller laced with twists and revelations that will stop your heart. Delaney is tired of being seen as fragile just because she's deaf. So when she's accepted into a prestigious program at Godboll University that trains students to slip between parallel worlds, that sounds so cool, she's excited for the chance to prove herself. Okay, it feels like this is going to be a romance as well. There's this guy Colton who feels drawn to Delaney, and it says they are forced to form a tenuous alliance, plummeting down a rabbit hole of deeply buried university secrets. They soon find themselves up against something old and nameless, an enemy that threatens to tear them and their forbidden partnership apart. I mean, sounds fun. I didn't really get much from that, but I'm excited. And also, I've never read a book about a deaf main character, and I feel like that is important, so I'm keen. The final book that I bought is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I bought this secondhand for $8. Guys, get around secondhand books. They're honestly so good. Anyway, my friend Rach is currently reading this and she's loving it so far. She says it's funny, but it's also like a whodunit. And Again, I already said this, but I love funny books and I also love a whodunit. So sign me the fuck up. It says, in a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet up once a week to investigate unsolved murders. Love that. But when a brutal killing takes place on their very doorstep, the Thursday Murder Club finds themselves in the middle of their first live case. Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim, and Ron might be pushing 80. Stop. I'm obsessed. Oh, I love it. But they still have a few tricks up their sleeve. Can our unorthodox but brilliant gang catch the killer before it's too late? Sign me the fuck up. This sounds perfect. I've already said this, but I love older main characters. Something about them just really pull on my heartstrings. So I'm really excited. I don't think this is particularly long either. 350 pages. Guys, get around this if you haven't, because if Rach likes it, you know it's a good book. So I'm keen to read it. Those are all the books that I bought. I'm so excited to read all of these. Like, sometimes I buy books without reading the back, which is probably really bad, I know, but having read through most of the backs of these books, I'm like doubly excited now because they all sound so good. Let me know if you guys have read any of these, or based on the books that I've bought, if you have any recommendations for me, because I really trust you guys and your opinion. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you so much, and I'll see you next week with a new one. Bye.